Somebody loves you back, and that's a fact. It's so good, needing somebody. When someone loves you back, the 60-40, the 60-40, talking about the 50-50 love. What up, y'all? This is your boy Gerald. It's the beginning of your week, y'all. That's right. It's the beginning of your week. I hope that your weekend found you well, found you protected, speaking your truth by way of grounding your feet. But of course, you're placing God first in everything you do. So, some of y'all are looking at your clock, looking at the calendars. You know that we are about to embark into another school year. Some of you have already started as of 2 weeks ago. I commend you, parents. And some of you are going to be sending your babies off after Labor Day. I commend you too. Excuse me, had the burples right now. Got my coffee though. So, of course, you know I got love for each and every one of you. I hope that everything that's going on in your life is falling down in the proper placement of what is required, what is needed. Because, see, the things that are needed are blessed. They are protected. But with that requires work, requires cultivation. And to fully cultivate anything that has your hands in it, you've got to give dedication of time. So to do that, you must be transparent with yourself. You have to be real with yourself, because whatever you're involved is an extension of you. Who am I talking to? So right now, y'all, I sat down and it crossed my mind, and I was like, you know what? With all this catalysm going on in 2016, I really believe that 2017 is going to be a monumental year. I believe 2017 is going to be all about balance too, and tipping the scales that were slighted for those who had the advantage. You know, and more or less, as you know, as the scriptures always said, those who were first will be made last, and those who were made last will be made first, because now the wheels are spinning back upright. And what is required is to take that toolage of what you went through, what you've seen, which is ultimately your wisdom and your insight, and putting it to action. Who am I talking to? Yeah. Did you actually think that that season of delay was going to be forever? Did you actually think that? That's why I told you in videos past. Think about that last disappointment you went through. But yet you might not have realized that, guess what? Through it all, God was there. His angels were there. And though that there may have been some experiences that were not so nice, he had to allow you to get up close and personable so that you can learn what you need compared to what you don't. Who am I talking to? So yeah, he let your feet touch the fire a little bit. Might have burned a little bit of spiritual hair, but it's to make sure that message was sent and received. You might have learned something indirectly from someone that you were connected to, be it be good or bad. Each one teach one is what they say. That's why you have to discern to understand what you're looking at. Is that a lesson or is it a blessing? How does that serve me? For these are going to be the tools that are going to help navigate you through your life. It is also going to be the tools that help you identify what truly why you're here. I'm talking about your purpose, y'all. You don't think you're here on this planet to simply breathe this precious air that we got, eat up everything, and reproduce and die. Do you think so? No, I don't think so. If that was the case, he wouldn't have gave you that blessed brain. He wouldn't have given you the attributes known as your divine gifts. Who am I talking to? You got God gifts, and you have the nerve to sit back and feel insecure because these are your gifts. You are second guessing yourself because these are your gifts. You're natural to this. You know why you're natural to it? Because that's what you're meant to do all along. Who am I talking to? So there's no benefit in choosing to defile yourself. That's why I tell you, kings, I tell you too, queens, family. You don't get a pass in dumbing yourself down, trying to fit into an environment. That's the environment you're never supposed to be in and never will be accepted. The environment that you rightfully will belong to will feel like air. You will just know. You will know more by way of spirit than you will by sight. Who am I talking to? That's why having the adage of faking it to make it is the worst thing you can do. You know why? Because you are turning around taking a position to say, well, you know what? Yeah, I lack that, but I'll just make sure that it gets me in the door. Don't you realize you are setting yourself back instead of taking the opportunity to invest in that? Maybe the opportunity was just for you to be able to see it. The objective is to prepare for it to get you there. Who am I talking to? But see, mankind is arrogant. Mankind wants to think they are God. It blows my mind when I hear about people like, I'm a God, I'm a God, I'm a God. No, you ain't. No, you ain't. I'm saying this out of love. You're not, because if you are God, why are you able to be exposed to the elements? You should have the perfect skin, genetics, and mental capacity. But guess what? For you to come out and have a position of the great I am, you just set a circle of proximity around you for people not to have access to your life. Because sooner or later, what's going to happen is he's going to show you exactly why. And I don't wish bad on anybody. I don't, but it's you reap what you sow. You reap what you sow because you refuse not to own your life, y'all. You can't go through life like a bump on a log and then in turn say, hey, I got a new victim card. Where can I swipe? Come on, man. That's why just in a literal sense, if you do not own your actions, guess what? Your actions are going to own you. Who am I talking to? That's why you do a disservice by choosing to lie. That's the worst thing you do. Why you gotta lie? Why you gotta lie, Clarence? You ain't gotta lie, Craig. Why? Don't you realize when you choose to lie, you are giving your audience a carte blanche pass inside what you lack? And guess what? They exploit that because they can see. They can see the real. Because guess what? We are what we attract. So guess what? They're looking at someone pretty much reinventing the wheel because guess what? They've already been down that road. And depending on their agenda, Some have gotten bold and brazen, will tell you right from the get, because they even understand free will, because they got to allow you to make the decision to walk with them. But then you have some that say, well, you know what? I can't afford that, so I've got to go around the mountain to get through the forest. And they try to go by way of manipulation and covert means. But don't you realize all things that are not authentic fall apart? They can't sustain time. They're temporary. That's why I've echoed this until the intended ear and heart hears it back. Anything made with man's hands has been already ordained to be temporary. Man will never master forever. Never. So while we're over there looking at your neighbor's yard, why ain't you looking inside you? Don't you realize you putting you focusing emphasis on what they do instead of not what you lacking? But getting mad because they're progressing and you standing still. Who am I talking to? And I thought about that today, this morning, when I was out and about early this morning, and I was, driving in and let me throw this out here too. Because I came real close this morning. I was out there on the beach and I said, you know what? I should record from the ocean and have the sun come up so you can see. This will give you a snapshot of what I see. But then I was like, you know what? I could do that, but it's going to be dark. So that is going to be in my to-do list in the future. I'm going to do a video out there on the beach so you can hear the waves, give you a snapshot of what my life is about. Because I'm a water baby all day. Pisces. That's right. Pisces sun, Scorpio moon, Cancer ascendant. I'm all water. So I can feel you. I understand you. And I always will look at you in a light that you deserve better, even if you can't see it. And that's the problem a lot of people are going through nowadays, because they're starting to see that the actions that they took in their rear view of their life ain't so far behind them now, isn't it? And these people have decided to try to pop up in your life. Now, you can look at this in two ways. You can be very humble and take stock of what is being witnessed. Or you can turn around and be arrogant and watch the next karmatic experience occur. See, the reason why people come back in your life, y'all, is because theoretically they never left it. See, this is the reasons why we have soul ties and soul contracts. You may know them as soulmates or soul families. You take the soul out of it and call it what it is. It's spirit, y'all. You are a spiritual being before you came on this planet. That was the contract you signed to have this experience. So yes, you're going to have peaks and valleys. Every one of your emotional senses are going to be validated. You're going to know what it feels like. Every emotional experience, you're going to know, indirectly or directly. But if one of them is not love, it's kind of like going on a journey with no sight. It's kind of like going in a favorite restaurant with no taste. Sure, you can smell it. Sure, you can see it, but can you embrace it? What I'm talking about is you. Do you get it? You are supposed to be treasured. You are supposed to be protected. You are supposed to be empowered. But none of that can come to pass until you decide to be authentic with yourself. Nobody's going to do that for you. You're not going to find it in no store. You're not going to find it in a stranger's bed. You're not going to find it by the materialism that has been basked upon your life. Who am I talking to? You got all these economic come ups, but you're still lonely. You're still sad. You got everything that anybody wants, but you're miserable. Why? Ain't no love there. You know why there ain't no love there? Because you choose to put a ransom of you. But guess what? You can break that cycle the moment that you decide to love you. This is where the courage comes in. This is the part where you have to turn around. That's why I say you don't go nowhere. You don't get nowhere when you hold on to secrets. You know what secrets do? That's like adding another brick to who you really is, to the person you want to know. They can't get to you because you can't get to you. So guess what? All you're doing is masking the truth. Who is the real you? Do you know? Do you know who the real you is? I know you know who the real you is because you're terrified to be connected to yourself. That's right. That little boy and that little girl that lives inside you has been fighting for this day. Why you keep treating me like this? Why you keep having me go over that girl's house? Well, all she does is treat you like a doormat, treat you like an ATM. Don't you realize she'll never be your wife? Meanwhile, when she gives you a little leg, you think that's a trinket. Don't you realize she's doing it for her edification, not yours? You didn't choose her. She chose you. Who am I talking to? And that's not to caveat from that, but that is also another reason why most women will not admit how many partners they've been with. Who am I talking to? Because deep down inside, you're ashamed. You're ashamed to admit it to yourself. That's why when you have a mindset of, well, I can't beat them, might as well join them, or think like a man, act like a lady, guess what? You're not acting like a lady because you don't know you. Because if you know you, if you knew you, had a relationship with you, why would you even entertain being something that you are not? Do you realize how beautiful you are? So why are you defiling yourself? Who convinced you to be accepted? You gotta wear the mask. How about wear the scalp piece? You know that ain't nothing but a mockery, commercialized, and you doing no different than the Native Americans did to the enemies. You wearing somebody's scalp. So does it surprise you why you see some women act beastly? Guess what? We are what we attract. So if she's wearing yaki, come on now. Come on now. Don't you realize everything has a spiritual connection, a spiritual tie to it? So why are you wearing someone's spirit? You don't know where that came from. You don't know how that came about. But one thing for sure is this. You don't realize how beautiful your own God-gifted crown is. Because if you did, you would tap in and allow the real you to be seen from the inside out. You come to realize your hair is better. And guess what? You're giving money to somebody that don't give a damn about you. And it's playing on your insecurity too. They've actually spelled it out in so many ways. To be accepted, you got to turn around and take the part of the Jezebel. For some of y'all that do not know the story of the Jezebel, you can go right up here and look it up. But in a nutshell, this was a woman that used seduction, manipulation, and control to socially upgrade herself. The problem with that is there were many that sought her because she was beautiful. But her end goal was she wanted security. She wanted control. And she found the right man to facilitate that. It would ultimately destroy him, but it would also give her a violent death because through the process, the devil made his presence known many times. And in return, would reward her every time she disrespected herself to the point the identity of who she really was buried. Was it was so buried emotionally inside her that she lived in fear. That's what she used. She used, and what that didn't work, she used her charm. She used her wit. We can definitely say that she was very smart, but she wasn't so wise to know when to submit to God. She mocked God. And as she grew into stature of power, influence, she loved to destroy men, the unsuspectable, those who were broken. She preyed upon them. In turn, just like a doormat, she walked over them, got what she wanted, and kept it moving. It would end up causing her to have a violent death. She would end up being dismembered, body spread amongst the field. Even the dogs didn't want her. It was a very painful death. This plays out metaphorically today. We know this as STDs. We also know this as mental and psychological abuse because there are many people that look like they have fallen from the heavens, but inside there's a storm. There's a sea of brokenness inside them. And all they're doing is using what they have been taught. So if your environment had no love in it, you're going to grasp on what you went through. Each one teach one is what they said. So that is why it has become very common that you see women now have made a willful choice to detach themselves emotionally when it comes to intimacy. So you can't have intimacy if you don't have a relationship with yourself first. How do you know what you need compared to what is a distraction? How do you know? Because we learn from others' experience. So if the person that's in your life or that has influence in your life had never shown you that, when the first person comes into your life that gives you that, you're going to look at them like they fell from the moon. This plays out over and over and over again. So does it surprise you, women, that you hear some of you women say, there ain't no good men, Gerald. Ain't nobody but dogs out here. But you never hear this. I've made bad choices in my life. End result, I've had a lot of pain because of the decisions I've made. And yet, I still have not learned from these mistakes because I'm still in the cycle. And unfortunately, you see people going through this, they in their 60s, still doing the same thing that they were doing when they were in their preteens. Only different is their body is worn. They're slaves to prescription pills that they don't need because their mind's not right. That beautiful mind. But see, I've also learned that you have some people that, what it comes down to, they're afraid of truth. Prime example, how many times have you asked somebody for advice? He gave you advice and you turned around, did whatever you want and still paid the price but silently inside you, you're like, I should have listened. Some people may realize that because the result is it costs you some money. It may have cost you some time. It may have damaged some bridges. But guess what? Regardless of what has occurred, you're still alive. Might be a little dirty, might be a little sore, but you're still standing. You know why that occurs? Because God loves you still. He's trying to get you to see, look here, I got something better for you. If your life is supposed to be of a VIP, why are you treating your life like the person out there scalping tickets? Come on now, who am I talking to? If in your heart and heart you say, I want a devoted husband, but you're not devoted to yourself, does it surprise you? The people that you meet, they never stick around. They can't. They can't, they won't. Their job is to break you down to the point that you give up on yourself. And here's one thing you won't see. They never take ownership of what they do. If anything, they blame you for what they did. How's that possible? You blaming me for an action that you chose. How's that? Because deep down inside, what you're witnessing is someone that is going through something that was never resolved. And the only thing that it changed is the climate or the scene. But the spiritual lesson is still there. So, this goes back to what I said before. That's also the reason why you see this. People come back in your life. And for whatever reason, they just come back. Just like, poof, here I am. Why? Now, you can look at it two ways, as I was saying earlier. You can look at it very humbly and say, well, you know what? For whatever reason, they acknowledge my existence. But to govern why they're there, you have to be honest with yourself. If this person, when they had the opportunity to be in your life, was not honest with you, what is the probability that they're going to be honest now? That's why it's very important that you watch what a person does, not what they say. Can people change? They change all the time, y'all. They do. Excuse me. They change all the time. You can. You can. However, an opportunist wears many masks. Yeah, they do. And they're hoping that with time, you'll forget. They hope that whatever that got you in their lives to begin with is the same person that you were then. But get this, y'all. The one thing that an opportunist does, they will never tell you your change. Let me clarify this. An opportunist has no good intentions for you. It's just like being an ATM card and you're the PIN number. Well, if they didn't respect the balance in the beginning, what makes you think that they're going to respect it now? They're not. They won't. They won't. That's why the key to living your life, you must make a unconditional decision to love yourself. See, if you love yourself, you ain't got to lie to yourself. You ain't got to dumb down. It's all about building. It's all about rediscovery. It's all about healing. That's why I say take the stopwatch out of your life. Take the stopwatch out of your life. Because until you decide to take the stopwatch out of your life and do the work, guess what? All those people that knew you win are hoping and praying that you be the same person they knew then. So guess what? They dipped on you once, they'll dip on you again. But it's a little different for you, my queens, because 9 times out of 10, the price comes, you end up on your back. There's more wear and tear on your body. Who am I talking to? They're treating your cookie like a tire. And when there's a blowout, they ain't changing it. They're going to act like it never happened, and they expect you to do the damage control, which in hence happens to the reason why you're on. That's why you're angry. You angry? You mad? You mad? Because they done did it to you again. And no matter how hard you try to put a defense up there saying, I will never go through this again, guess what? You're going to go through it more. It intensifies. Why? Because you have yet to take ownership. Because you're there. It's your experience. So it's just like your life is like a test and you didn't study for it. You ain't going to pass. So guess what? You got to take that course over again. You got to go through that experience again. Only thing different, you got a new teacher. Who am I talking to? My college students? You know what I'm talking about. You turned around, signed up for that class. You already knew before you took the class if you was going to invest in it or commit to it. That's why winging it never sends you to the place where you end up needing to be. But the thing is, why we rushing? Why we rushing? I think it's kind of ironic, y'all. Look at how the media looks at us. For my millennials, you not realize what's going on in the social atmosphere? They already have written you off as incapable to sustain life. Why? Because one, you don't govern your life. You look at sex like changing shoes. And what's happening is a lot of, especially women, you're waking up being sterile. They said within the last 5 years alone, they have more cases of women being diagnosed with fibroids, ovarian cysts. It didn't matter how many sexual partners you had. The outcome was this. You're going to get a hysterectomy now. Oh, yeah. So you done cut your possibility to one day be blessed to be a parent in half. Because what's going on is there's a spiritual war that's been going on, y'all. And that's why I kind of blame, I have to shoulder some of the blame as a Generation Xer and the baby boomers. Because the baby boomers did not prepare the Generation Xers like myself to prepare the millennials. And that's why most millennials today, not all, but a lot of them think that, well, I have the right to choose. You do have the right to choose. But if you don't know you first, how are you going to choose wisely? I know y'all seen the thing going on with the album release of that rapper Young Thug. A lot of people were like, oh, that's publicity. But a lot of people don't know the psychological effect on it because they don't realize that there's always going to be somebody that's going to inspire you or cause you to question. And it's no secret. There is a war going on socially against little boys. Hmm. Oh yeah, there is a defeminization. My mouth's not working. Defeminin. Ah, they're defeminizing little boys. They're causing them to question, and a lot of that is because there's no male presence in that boy's life. And I'm gonna say this right now for y'all who know the actress Charisse Theron. Watch. She has a son. She adopted. Little black boy. She got that little boy walking around in girl clothes with a long uh, pigtail blonde down his back. She's dressing him up like a girl. So there's a strong possibility he's going to embrace the influence of his mother because she's not married. He's totally dependent on her, but his psychology is going to be offset. I know there are going to be some people going to be like, that's not true. Okay. Well, if that was the case, why is it when you have the scenario is flipped the other way and you have a man raising a daughter, the probability of when she matures, she's going to be a tomboy. Why? Because she's embracing the tutelage of what her father is. He's the living constant. He's the example. So until another woman is exposed into her life, she doesn't have a means to validate herself. Come on, women, you know that. Remember that moment before you knew you were exploring with makeup, looking like rainbow work, looking like a clown. But it wasn't until maybe your mom or your aunt or a woman of significance said, hey, let me show you. That's when the tutelage began. Otherwise, you stood out. Same thing with boys. If a boy doesn't have a male influence in his life, he's going to emulate whatever that environment is. So if that environment is not good, he's going to gravitate to the first male image he sees. It might be that gangbanger. It might be that drug dealer. It might be that pimp. Because he's going to look at it from, well, they got money. They got flashy things. And the girls like them. So they're going to emulate that. The probability is going to be very strong. Now, turn around and shift that. And you put a mature man that got his head on straight, that believes in God. He's going to set that boy up for success. That boy is not going to get in trouble because he's going to be worried of he's going to not want to disappoint him because that man is in his life. And the probability is that boy is going to go off to college to become something. Who am I talking to? But see, I also know that there are young moms out there that think, well, you know what? That's all well and good, but I got 5 kids, Gerald. My life got cut short. I'm not able to live my dreams, so I'm angry because of that. Well, maybe that could be a blessing in disguise for you when you decide to take ownership first. Number one, nobody made you lay down. You do understand. Let's call that spade a spade. I don't care what that man has. It is not strong enough to open your legs. And I know some of you have done this. Well, I needed somebody to love me. And they were telling me everything that I needed to hear. But they still left you. Some of y'all had to wake up one morning of realizing that you're pregnant and deal with the shock that you're going to be a mom and the frustration of, I'm not prepared. Well, guess what? You'd be surprised what God can do. But guess what? God can't step into your life until you open your heart first. That takes courage. You do understand that, right? Anybody can run their mouth. But it takes transparency to be you, the real you. I'm not talking about the person steps out the door. I'm talking about connect with the person in the mirror looking back when you're brushing your teeth. That person. That's the person that you owe it to, not the people you know, not the people that you're connected to by blood and bone. You connect to the person in the mirror. Every up, every down, you owe to that person because they deserve it. They deserve it. And guess what? That person in the mirror looking back, they're going to be with you as long as you work on this planet because that's you. So you do understand your perception can change the moment that you decide to love you more. And do not take it as a position of arrogance or being conceited. Because that, first of all, if you live a life shallow, that's exactly what you're going to get in return. And that's what the devil uses. The devil loves an impulsive person. Oh, you won't take the time to assess your decisions? Okay, we'll take the setback with you, hoping that you'll break. That's why I kind of, I'm in awe when I see women that have this disposition, like they try to project this strength. Like I don't need a man and I'm okay, and try to come off like they got this testosterone within themselves. Don't you realize, Queen, you are one of the broken, you're one of the most broken women that could be seen. But a spiritual man knows that. And he won't add to that either. But he will pray for you. He hopes that whatever you're going through, you make it through. Because he wants the best you to enjoy this experience. And that's why I always echo this to you, my queens. A lot of people, you'd be surprised what people say on social media. You got this movement out there, women like, well, when is the one going to come? And then on the same note, you hear some people say, that's not real. The same people that says it's not real are the same people that don't invest in themselves. But they won't tell you that. They won't own nothing they do. They got that fully charged victim card. Come on. Unless somebody's putting a gun to your head, you got a right to make a choice. You have the right to say no. So why are you there? I saw this post yesterday where this guy was like, I long for the day that I can come home to my wife, love her, both physically, mentally, emotionally, and be the strong father to my unborn kids. And there was this woman right under him saying, keep dreaming. Listen, you have some people that love their pain so much they're loyal to their denial. And the reason why they're loyal to their denial is because when it comes to acceptance and accountability, they don't want no part of that. Because then they have to admit to themselves they made a bad choice, which pretty much is like a linchpin or like a stack of dominoes placed. All it takes is that one process of acknowledgement. Yeah, I chose. You do understand every decision you make is based off the decision you made before it, right? Who am I talking to? That's how it works. So it's very important that I can't stress this to y'all. You want freedom? You want freedom? It's going to cost you. And the price is for you to stop running, to stop lying to yourself. Why you with them? Because you don't have the fortitude to do it yourself? So you going for the ride? The worst thing you can do, Queen, is marry somebody for security. You know that when you marry somebody for security, you basically said legally, I'm your hoe. Do with me as you wish. I don't have a voice. I'm just here. And guess what? Does it surprise you that their behavior is the same way? Because they know what it took to get you there. That's why you see people, they be arguing stuff. It is a blow up or something. And then the guy or the girl will run out and buy whatever the trinket of choice was. Whatever that one thing was that they wanted, they'll go buy it. Here you go. I want to keep this, that's why I think it was Marvin C said, he said, it's cheaper to keep her. No, it's not. Because if you got to turn around and make someone just treat you right, you got to do everything to get them to respect you. They never respected you. And they never will. And you're saying, well, why would you say that? Because they never respected themselves. Who am I talking to? It doesn't matter if you're giving it up twice on Sunday, flipping it off the chandeliers and dropping it hot. You will never have their heart. Some of y'all might be going through that now. Doesn't matter how much you have taken on this assignment of, well, I'm going to be the loyal and faithful companion. But you was the dog and all the other ones. So you're looking at it rationale like, well, I got to go through all this because of what I've done in the past. That might be part of it. But the truth of the matter is, what you're witnessing and what you're in, they're not supposed to be in your life. And this is why you see this sometimes, a lot. You always hear, well, I wish things could have been different with him. I try to keep things spiced up, and I make sure everything's great, but it just seems I can't connect to him. You know why? Because somebody else has his heart, and you refuse to acknowledge that. Women do it too. Kings, don't get it twisted. Do not think for 1 second, out of the blue, she chose you to spend the rest of her days. And life is about putting pieces of the puzzle together. What you might be witnessing is something going on that is very covert. That person may have turned around and gotten to a place emotionally where they have said, well, I can't be with him because the price to be with him, I'm not willing to give for myself. So I will select a likely substitute. And that's why you see this. She don't talk about her past. So if she can't talk about her past freely, does it surprise you? You don't see where your future is? Who am I talking to? And here's the thing. You'll also see this. In the intended time and intended moment, you know what happens? Because God can be funny. You be out minding your business. And you'll see somebody that favors you. And it will strike you. But what will make your jaw drop is they know you. They know her or him. You know why? Because you were the substitute for the one that got away. Oh, who am I talking to? And you've addressed it and you've said, well, why is this? They dumb it down and say, I got a type. No, they don't. What they're trying to tell you without hurting your feelings is, I settled. I settled. I didn't want to take ownership. I didn't want to own what I've done. And you don't give me the stress. And most people have stress because they run from their pain instead of being courageous and respecting the process. That's why you may hear people do this. Guys do it a lot. They say, well, you know what? I'm not getting married no more. I'm good. I'm happy living by myself. But what ends up happening is their place ends up becoming a cavalcade or really a museum of experiences past. And there's nothing but women, 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 women. But women, you do that too. Instead of them coming through your house, you go to theirs. You make secret rendezvous in hotels and use excuses of business trips. Who am I talking to? Oh, I got a business trip. No, you don't. You right across town getting it in with Charlie. Same man that used to go upside your head, but yet you wear a wedding ring now. Come on, y'all. Don't you realize you block your blessings when you don't love yourself? If you don't have a relationship with God first, He can't give you the things you rightfully deserve. But that devil, he will destroy you from the inside out. And that's one thing about the devil. The devil takes no accountability. He don't. He takes no accountability because his position is the same, just like some of the people you know. They're quick to say, well, I gave you this. What's wrong with that? Nobody made you take that. You did it yourself because he knows the power of free will, which is one of the two gifts that God gave you. The first gift was to unconditionally love yourself. So how can you say you unconditionally love yourself when you lying to yourself? You running from yourself. Come on now. Why do you think that Jezebel spirit is destroying families? Huh? You think it's by chance that little Junior don't respect you? You gave him 10 years to watch you do what you shouldn't have done. And in the meanwhile, he's gotten bigger, he's gotten stronger, he's got his own opinion and perception. And what happens? He does the same thing you did to the guys coming through, to the women he's going to date. To leave you sitting over there shaking your head like, why are you doing that? Because you did that. You got a daughter. She's an emulation. She's a snapshot of you. And all she watched was countless men come through. What you think she gonna do? What you think she gonna do? And with that being said, my parents, you better get in them cell phones. You better get in them cell phones. Because if you don't, your little baby's going to end up getting exploited. And that's the problem. Parents too busy trying to be best friends instead of parents. And then you wondering why you got to take little Susie to Planned Parenthood. Come on, man. Why do you think they made Plan B? It's a social engineer because guess what? They know that they don't want, look, if we stay on the track socially, do you realize the earth will be melanated? Who am I talking to? But the ironic part is you've got such a pushback going on, like countries in the southern hemisphere. They're trying to do the opposite. They don't want the dark skin in their family lineage. Well, the only way you can get rid of that is two light-skinned people over and over and over and over again. And eventually, guess what? The melanin is out because your melanin is affected by what? The sun, heat, climate. So why do you think Esau did what he did? I know I'm talking to somebody. And this is what I think is really funny. Haven't y'all noticed, Queens? You're turning into the things you resent. Some of y'all are so boisterous, and you say, I don't want no man because no man is no good, but you act like one instead of seeing how beautiful you really are. If it feels funny to wear a dress, why? You're female. Huh? Doesn't matter if you like going in the men's section buying up our clothes. You're still a female. Know why? Because guess what? Every month you get a reminder to let you know how blessed you are. We don't. Men don't. Why you think you got them cramps? To let you know how beautiful and blessed you are. Who am I talking to? So why are you hanging with them clowns? I said that. That's right. Those are clowns. And the sad thing about it is, because they don't have any integrity to tell you in your face, they don't care about your dreams. Their whole position is to destroy them. That's why your girlfriend's in your ear. Anytime you got stuff that you trying to do to better yourself, she in your ear. There's always a crisis. But when you need her, she ain't there. She the first one to tell you he ain't no good for you. You know why she tell you that? Because secretly she is jealous of you. And you know why she says he's no good for you? Because he's perfect for her. Who am I talking to? Like attracts like. It is nothing but the foundations that make the generational curses. Why is it we live in a technological age, but families are fragmented? How many of y'all remember when you only had a phone number and the U.S. mail as a means of communication? But it seems back then we were more tight-knit than we are today. It's a travesty, y'all. The only time you have a family reunion is when you're putting somebody in the ground. But what nobody's taking into account is this. What about your history? I remember it used to be that whoever was the patriarch or the matriarch of that family had that Bible. And that Bible, when you opened it up, had all the genealogy of your family tree. What happened to that? I'm going to tell you what happened. We got selfish. We got trifling. We got jealous. Instead of empowering each other, we set each other up for the clip. And what's so sad about it? You have some who have a position that is so apparent that you're doing the work for them. And they laughing. They sitting in the boardroom laughing at you. Like, look at them. Look at them. Meanwhile, they're looking at the profit sharing off of your impulsive spending. Do you not realize that? They're making money off your bad choices. So if your mind's not right, your body's not going to be right. If your body's not right, your feet ain't going to be grounded. If your feet ain't going to be grounded, you ain't going to be going where you need to be to begin with. But you don't hear the caretaker complaining. Nah, you don't hear that because they making hand over fist off of that. You don't hear the people that make firearms complaining. No. How about the people that make the ammo? No. Because people kill people. Guns don't kill people. And what pulls the trigger is fear. I remember there was a day when you had a problem with somebody. You try to diffuse it at the lowest level. And if it ever came down to it, you defended yourself. You defended it with these. You defended it with this. But see, nobody wants to take accountability, because if you took accountability, you would say, well, maybe I wasn't supposed to be in that environment to begin with. Who am I talking to? Come on now. If the only reason he's dealing with you, Queen, because he's swimming in your rectum, he ain't gonna never give you a ring. If he or she can't right off the bat say, what's your 5-year plan? Do you know your 5-year plan? Because if you don't have a clue of what your 5-year plan, you're doing time in your mind. Because let me break it down to you right now. The things that you're doing right now should have been decided on last year. Who am I talking to? But until you get tired of being tired, you won't have the courage. You won't have the courage to do something different. But here's the thing. Look at what's not working for you. Maybe you need to step back. If you with him because in the back of his mind, he's told you, well, just give me a little more time. I'm going to, but he's only doing enough to keep you at bay. You better walk. You better walk. You better walk. If you told her, hey, this is where I'm going, this is what I need, and I'm going forth, and she ain't trying to be a part of that, why you tripping? Why you tripping? Let her go. I know I'm not trying to sound condescending, but when they say there are many fish in the sea, it's true. Just as well as you can't say you know all men, because you don't. But here's the beautiful thing. This is perfect because this is who you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be the boss of your life. That's right. You're supposed to be the hero of your story. But you can't do that unless you know how to say that word no. Come on now. And let me clarify this for y'all. If you're going through a season where your finances have been doing this, and then this, then this, and then a little bit, and then that again, that's based off of your environment. Look at your environment. But be honest with yourself. What were you doing last year this time? Is there anything different? If there's no progression, guess what? The people in your environment are the reason why you're being delayed. But I know there's somebody saying, well, Gerald, I'm only involved with this person because I got kids. When the kids get grown, I'm out. Why? Don't you realize that's the worst thing you could do? To stick around because the kids are young? Huh? And really what you need to do is tell the truth. You're using that as an excuse to buy time. Because guess what? If they had not shown interest to change things beforehand, they're not going to do it. They're not going to do it after the fact. They're not. Can people change? Every day. But not until you decide to fall back in love with you. And the only way you're going to be able to fall back in love with you is you got to have that conversation with God. Now, I'm going to tell you this. It's no secret what you're witnessing in our society right now. There has been a blatant attack or campaign for a lot of people that choose not to love themselves. So guess what? They're going to put all the responsibility on God. And so I'm going through this because God made. No. You're going through this because you chose that. Just as well as you can change that. But to do that, you have to admit your part in that. You think you woke up this morning, you walked out the door, and the next problem that was slated to come in your life was right there waiting for you on the other side? Somebody laughing like him. He talking about you. Listen. First and foremost, you have to be honest. If your relationship is not based off of communication, I'm talking authentic communication. That means unfiltered. But being unfiltered means you have to be transparent. That means there's no fear. Why do you have a position like, well, I can't tell him how I really feel because he gonna leave? Well, let his ass leave. Leave. Bye. Goodbye. She wants to pack up and roll. Bye. Goodbye. See, sometimes people want to play this game of the OK Corral. You know how they seen where the two gunfighters are sitting out there and they're waiting for the first person to draw. And that's what they're doing with your mind. They're doing that with your heart. And it's even worse when you don't have any support in your family. And a lot of cats, some of you guys need your ass whooped for that, because half the stuff that you're doing, you wouldn't be able to get away with it if she had a brother that was proactive, a male influence, because he would check the shit out of you. Excuse my French. Why? Because that's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's mom to be. That's somebody's sister. And most cats that get down like that they've got control issues because somebody did that to them or did not. Maybe they were reared in an environment where mom was there, but she wasn't nurturing. She might have been the opposite. She was there by default. So any interaction that he had with his mom was negative. She never supported him. She always belittled him. So, well, guess what? You have the first responsibility for a child is this: to learn the environment. So if there's no love there, that child's going to think that love doesn't exist. If there's no support there, the child is not going to support itself. So does it surprise you now, millennials, some of y'all can't even make a grilled cheese sandwich? Some of y'all don't have life skills, but you can work wonders on this computer. When you're tech savvy like the best of them, but you have no life skills. You won't know if today we hit a major power loss. Some of y'all would be out on your own. You wouldn't be able to survive. Now let's throw this out here, and I'm gonna bring this to a close. The worst thing you can do, y'all, is fall prey to what you're seeing on the TV. Right now, all you're seeing is promotion of drug use, promiscuity, and non-empowerment. Why? Because society needs people to play the role of the slave. They need people that's going to do the work without complaint. And all that does is serve the top 10%. They know that. They know that they need people to fill up them jail cells. They know that they need people to unfortunately end up on that slab. Because you know what? The caretaker got to stay employed. They also know that they need people to not be financially responsible so you can be in more debt. They know that. You do understand every business that is legitimate, they all have insurance. For those that are going through using your credit cards, you know that every time you don't pay your payment, you just paid them more. But in process, your FICO score is taking a beating. You're making them money for doing nothing. You got people making money in their sleep. Why can't that be you? Why? Huh? I'm just saying. I hope that you, wherever you are, will say, this is the day I make a declaration to love myself. Because you can't call yourself strong until you connect back to the real person. That's right, Queen. Let's call a spade a spade. A typical man will love the way you walk and sashay. He will like your presence, but guess what? He won't marry you. He will love to exploit you too. And what happens? You get on that merry-go-round of pain, and you get passed through. No matter how savvy you think you are, oh, I'm not gonna let that happen. You're right, that ain't gonna happen, but something else is. That's why a lot of you to this day are dealing with the pain of realizing that you're doing things that you thought you would never do. Why are you spending time with a married man? Don't you realize it didn't matter he had a ring or not? He was emotionally tied to her. But giving you the hopes that he gonna leave. He ain't leaving. Only thing he gonna leave is his scent between your thighs. Because every moment that you entertain, first of all, think about it. Think about this. If he ain't devoted to her, what do you think he doing to you? But fulfilling fantasies, wasting time. That's why it's gotten so carte blanche now that the women that choose to be kept women, they've gotten socially conditioned that they get to have their time before the holiday or after the holiday. They don't even question the excuse anymore because they know. So, well, I got to play my position. Your position is to be somebody's wife. Your position is to respect yourself. Your position is to protect your kids from themselves. You're not going to find that in the arms of a stranger. Only thing you're going to find on that is delay, more pain, and a whole lot of regret. And it's contradictory because you're not a mistake. You're not a regret. You're not something to do. You're an experience to be treasured. You're meant to be protected. How about that heart? But guess what? Who's going to have that assignment? The moment that you decide to do the work, that spiritual man or woman. You know why? Because after you decided to admit to yourself that you were afraid and you decided to stop running, he or she gonna step in your life and it's gonna feel like a breath of fresh air. You're gonna be like, where have you been all my days? And you're gonna know what tears of joy is. You're gonna know what it feels like to be emotionally safe. Because behold, you are looking at your best friend. And guess what? They're not gonna disrespect you. But they're not going to play the role of your mother or daddy because they should have done that. See, the older you get, y'all, the more wisdom you are able to hold on to. Because the responsibility in that is those who are going to come from behind us. And you do understand, y'all, we're not promised tomorrow. So it's your responsibility to secure your legacy. Because guess what? One day you're gonna take your last breath, and all that's gonna be left. It's not gonna matter the materialism. Don't get caught up on materialism, y'all. Because I'm gonna tell you why. Materialism means nothing until you possess it. But guess what? At what cost? Another broken heart? Another bruise that you hide? Another lie that has to be told? How can you be at peace if you're going through that? And I know a lot of y'all are going through that right now, and my heart goes out to you. But just know, if you're tired of it, open your heart up. Have that conversation with God. See, a lot of people got this choice. They think, well, Gerald, I gotta have this conversation with God. I gotta wear this all white outfit, and I gotta have my stuff laid, and I'm gonna No, John, look, God wants the conversation to come from your heart. You already know how to talk that way because you've had that conversation to the people that were treating you like crap. Who am I talking to? Yeah, that one that you thought was the one, but they just couldn't get it together. Why? They didn't deserve to hear you breathe. But the one who does is going to have the keys to the other side of your life. And every wound, every tear, every regret is going to go away. It's going to go away. You're going to be saying to yourself, long time overdue. But it matters not if you didn't learn from it. Don't you understand that? You can't graduate spiritually until you learn. So you're doing yourself a disservice, y'all, by thinking to get under someone is to get over someone. You're giving access to somebody that would never care if you lived or died. You're setting yourself up pain and spiritual influence that they may be going through. Not every environment is supposed to have your face up in the place. So does it matter? Or does it surprise you that you got that little drawer over there? Huh? Or you got that little bottle by your bed? You say, well, I'll take a little sips of that because that's the only way I can go to sleep. Or you may have said, I don't care. And I'm going to check out. And I'm going to go to cloud nine. But what you fail to realize, if you go to cloud nine or you pick up that bottle or physically run away, you know what doesn't change? That pain. It's still there. It takes a life of its own. Why? Because you still breathing life in it. And the devil loves that. Some of y'all supposed to be multimillionaires now. Some of y'all got groundbreaking gifts and talents that the world needs, but yet you are allowing people to stand in front of your blessing. Why? Because she wiggles when she walks? Because she looks like a work of art? Huh? Don't you realize? If she didn't have it together before you met her, she's not going to make it. She's not going to have it together while you with her. You know why? She didn't prepare. And you know what happens? She doesn't earn the right to inherit your last name. So, Queens, if you're tired of the rigmarole, when you're ready to wake up out of your nightmare, when you're ready to love yourself, I welcome you to inner peace. The quickest way to get there, $1 investment. $1. Take yourself to the Dollar Tree and get yourself a composition book. And at your leisure, I want you to sit down and start writing. Just start writing on whatever's in your mind right at that moment, right? Just write. Then put that book down. Wait a couple days. Wait a couple days. Go back to what you wrote, right? Then take that point of measurement and go backwards. Go backwards. Some of y'all may turn around and say, well, I don't want to go backwards. I want to go back to where it all began, Joe. It started in my childhood. Then you start there. And you'll start to notice the commonalities. You'll notice the people that were there and the roles they played. How about the influences that they showed you? Kings, the world needs you. Our children need you. Queens, you were given the gift of nurturement. That's why you were given the title of mother. But if you don't know you, you will not be able to fulfill that role. God is praying for you. You know I am. I see your worth. And for that, it helps me discern mine. I really believe, y'all, 2017 is going to be a groundbreaking year for everybody. Some of y'all are going to finally have the courage to speak your truth. And it's going to be a springboard to put you where you rightfully should have been all along. That's why God said it best. Those who are last shall be made first, and those who are first will be made last. You know why that happens? It's to teach you humility, to teach you to never lose your footing, to stay grounded, but also speak your truth. Some of y'all never heard your voice before. And the very first time you heard your voice, it was by way of anger. And you saw the response of that, which you failed to realize was it wasn't the anger that got your attention. It was the truth of what was being said. So I need you to love you, right? You worth it? Oh, don't worry about him. Don't worry about him. Don't worry about what he's doing or what he's saying. Because the truth of the matter is, he's not going to be there next year. And that's another thing too, y'all. Why you think your relationships all fail? That's why you think they fail, Queen. You try to be savvy with the best. Don't you realize you can't create man in your image? That's why he leaves you. That's why he's exploiting you. And that's why tit for tat don't work. Because I know some of y'all like, well, I'll get you before you get me. Don't you realize you're going to get God? Because guess what? You end up giving more than nobody wins in that. But Joe got much love for you. I hope you guys have a blessed week. Stay grounded, stay true to yourself. Got any questions, concerns? Hey, drop me an inbox. I'll get it, respond. Don't worry about the privacy because all things are filtered first before they're posted. And if you're feeling anything that I'm saying, give me a thumbs up. And if there's somebody that you know that may need to hear this, by all means, all my videos are exactly what they are. It's for us to uplift, to upgrade, and claim our lives back. Because until we do, that's not only another dream unfulfilled, but also another purpose not made a reality. And you're worth it. You have a blessed week, y'all. Love to hear from you. Bye-bye.